Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to show you a variety of Xbox controllers working on the Nintendo Switch. So at the moment we've got a wired 360 controller, and if you have a look it's even lit up player 1. If I was to get my proper Nintendo Switch Pro controller, it's recognised as player 2. So with all these controllers, all the Xbox controllers, they're being recognised as Pro controllers, and also the buttons are exactly the same as the Pro controller as well. So if it says press A on screen, you're not going to press A on the Xbox controller because it's going to be A here on the Pro controller. So whatever it is on the Pro controller and your Joy-Con, you're going to copy on the Xbox controller. So A, B, X, Y, so that's going to be A, B, X, Y. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, because if you're looking down at your controller, then you're expecting to press A here. But obviously if you're already used to the Joy-Cons and you're used to the Pro controller, then it's exactly the same. If, for example, you want to go to the home button, you just hit the Xbox button and you can see there it's taking me home. So let me just show you a quick game working. This is Snake Pass, and everything works as it should do, and it's even got rumble as well. So if I hold down this button here, you can hear, you see, it's rumbling. So that's pretty good. Now the rumble is more intense than the rumble on this one here, so this definitely has a nicer rumble on it. Right, okay, so basically the controls are exactly the same as the Pro controller. So on this game here, I'm going to be pressing this one to move around the place, left analog stick, left and right, and then A, in this case B on this button, but it's A on the controller, is to climb up things, and then this one here, left trigger, is to grip. And the games I've played so far, the controllers work perfectly on them, and also I haven't noticed any noticeable lag. Right, if we go to the home screen again, you can see it moving around the place. Right, let me show you the Xbox One S controller working, and then I'm going to show you the fight stick working over there. Now you're probably wondering, how do you do this? It's actually really simple. Since they released a version 3.0 update in June 2017, it allows you to plug in a wired Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and since then it means you can now use one of these adapters that have already been around for quite a while. Basically, this particular one here is an Xbox to Wii U adapter, and it's working fine. What I will say is, the big downside of it is, although it feels really good and really responsive, it's only going to be relevant for certain games, because the analog stick doesn't work as an analog stick, it works as a digital stick. In other words, if you were to move it a small bit, normally on the Nintendo Switch controller, I mean I will show you this working on one of the settings, but if you were to move this a small bit, the character or the car will steer just a small bit. On the Xbox controllers, it's all or nothing, so even if you move it a small bit, it's just bang, straight over. So they're not analog sticks. So it's fine for things like Street Fighter, but even Mario Kart now, if you just wanted to go around the corner just a tiny little bit or straighten yourself up, you're kind of going full over and full left and full right, so it's not ideal for all games. So this one is Xbox to Wii U, but you can also get a PlayStation to Wii U as well, so I will do another video on that, and it's really straightforward. All you've got to do is get the adapter, and then you just need to download the latest driver from the internet, and then you plug it into your Nintendo Switch, and basically everything you plug into it works as if it's just a Pro controller. So this is it here, this is the adapter you get, nice and straightforward, and you just plug it into one of the spare USB ports. Now let's plug in our Xbox One S controller. Now it will only work wired, it won't work wirelessly, so you're going to have to get used to being tethered to the Nintendo Switch again. Now if you watched my video that I've just released showing the fight stick working when I had the Nintendo Switch in a little arcade miniature cabinet, the really fascinating thing that I haven't quite worked out why it's working this way is, for example, this is a wired controller. If I was to unplug this, it doesn't work. It has to be plugged in via the cable. But yet, when I unplug the switch from the dock, it's actually working even though the switch isn't docked, which is pretty amazing. So somehow the dock is communicating with the switch wirelessly. So at the moment, let me show you. Right, so as you can see, it's moving up on screen here, but now when I remove it from the dock, it will unsync itself and then sync itself back up again, and it will start working. So when I unplug this now, you can see it's starting to flash. It's doing a little vibrate. And there you go, it's taken a while, but if you have a look, it's now moved over to here. So I'm using this wirelessly. Go back down. I'm using this wirelessly to the Nintendo Switch. But as soon as I unplug this controller is not wireless to the Switch itself, because so it's not working. For example, you know, the Pro controller will move it around the place. And that will obviously work wirelessly, so that's working to the Switch itself. But here, as soon as I unplug this cable, it's not going to work anymore. So if I unplug this cable, you can see now it started flashing and there's nothing happening. So somehow the Switch dock is communicating with the Switch itself, which I didn't realise it did. So if any of you out there know why that's happening, please add it to the comments. Okay, so that's the Xbox One S controller working. Now let me just go down to system settings. What I'm going to do is let me put it back on the screen because it's easier to see. You can see now it's unsynced itself again. And now it's working again. And now if I go up to controller and sensor, I'm just going to show you it working. So for example, now calibrate control sticks. This is what I meant by it only being digital and not analog. So if I press B, in other words press A, and it says to click in on the one you want to calibrate. So if I click in here, watch this now. Normally if I just tap that slightly, it should move slightly, but as soon as I move it over, can you see it's jumping all the way up? So it's definitely working as a digital stick, not an analog stick. So that's not very good. Right, let me do the other stick here, the right analog stick, and again you can see the same thing happening. Now let me just show you what it's supposed to do. If I go onto the Pro controller here, and if I go onto the left analog stick, can you see now I've got full control. I can just move it a small bit if I want, and again all the way if I so wish. If the other analog stick, you can see the same thing again. If I want to move it a small bit, I can do. So basically these Xbox controllers, as it stands at the moment, will be no good for first-person shooters and stuff like that. It's fine for things like Street Fighter. It's even fine for Mario Kart, because on Mario Kart, it isn't really that responsive. If you're going in a straight line and you just want to turn a small bit, it doesn't matter even if it just goes on full lock for a split second. It's still only going to move you a small bit. So it depends on the game you want to play. But let me just show you the buttons. So if I go down to test input devices, you can see that if I test the controller buttons, they are working as they should be. So for example, mimicking this controller here, this bottom one is B, and it comes up B, this one is A, top one is X, this one is Y, and then you've got right click in, left click in, and then you've got your control pad, and ZR, which is right trigger, left trigger is ZL, and then right bumper is R, left bumper is L. So you get the idea. This one is plus and this one is minus. Yeah, so that's that one working there. Now this is the thing that makes it worthwhile for me, is that's home, that button there, the Xbox button's home. This is the thing that makes it worthwhile for me, is the fight stick here. So right, let me just exit Snake Pass. So X, close. Right, okay, so we've got a universal fight stick down here. Now this is going to be good for something like Street Fighter, because the analog stick doesn't matter, because this isn't an analog stick anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in this controller here, and this is a wired controller, so we're going to be plugging this into the little Brook converter down here. So let's unplug this one. Get all those out of the way. Now, to get it working, we have to set this up beforehand. So right now we have to turn on this Xbox controller, otherwise it doesn't work as a pass-through. The reason I have to connect up this Xbox controller to it is because it's a universal one. So for example, I can have a PS3 connected to it, I can connect it to the computer, or I can have a PS4 connected to it, and also an Xbox 360 as well. So that's the reason. If you had a dedicated Xbox 360 or Xbox One fight stick or arcade stick, then you would be able to just plug it straight in without having the controller plugged into it. So I'm going to turn the controller on here. Okay, and now I'm going to plug this into here, like so. And now, let me just double check. Yeah, you can see now the Xbox controller is working up on screen there, so that means my fight stick is going to be working. There you go. So now if you were to go to a game like Street Fighter, that's where the fight stick would really come in handy. And if you just did want this completely on your Nintendo Switch, then what you can do is, remember, with a lot of these fight sticks you can change the graphics here. So at the moment it says B here because it's mimicking either the Xbox or the circle for PlayStation. But if you wanted this just for your Nintendo Switch, then you could put your own graphics on, and then you could have that as A, because that is actually button A and on the Nintendo Switch, and this is going to be button B, this one's going to be button Y, and this one's going to be button X. Yeah. And obviously you can change the right trigger and left trigger to LZ, etc, etc. Right, okay, again here we have the home button, and we have the minus button and the plus button, so you've got all the buttons here that you will need. Now this Brook converter I got from Amazon in the UK. I think it was about £31, something like that, 31 UK pounds. They're out of stock in a lot of places at the moment, and obviously when word gets out that they're working on the Nintendo Switch, there's going to be a bit of a rush for them, so they will probably be out of stock for a while. Now I do hope it will continue to work, but obviously Nintendo, they're not really going to like the fact that you can use third party or existing products on the Nintendo Switch, so there's a very good chance that this could be patched in the future. But they have released it at the moment on version 3.0, where you can use a wired controller on the Nintendo Switch, hence the reason why this Brook converter is now working. I mean, you do have to do the little update from the PC, so I hope it doesn't get patched, but there's a good chance it could well get patched. It's just a case of when will it get patched, whether that will be weeks, months or years. But if you think about it, they're releasing the Hori fight stick, I think is coming out in a month or two, and I presume that's going to be a fight stick probably over £100, in which case then a lot of people would like to use their existing fight sticks and just pay £30 for the Brook converter over there. So there is a good chance, unfortunately, I think that this will be patched come the next release. But you might already have one of these converters for the Wii U that you might have had for the last few years. So if you have, update it on the PC, and then go ahead and have a bit of fun with your Xbox controllers. Right, so what I'll do here is I'll just set up a two-player game between the Switch controller and the fight stick here. Now I haven't got another one to test, but I'm presuming if you were to put another one of these Brook converters in the other USB, then it would work fine for two player. So let's say if you were really into these fight sticks and you had two of them for two player, I don't see why it wouldn't work, but at this moment in time I can't test it. Right, and again, if you have a look there, you've got two lights for two player, and they even give you little lights up here for one player. Now, as well as this, you can do cheats. So right now you can see that the Pro controller is on the right hand side and the arcade stick is on the left hand side. Now, what you can do is you can set up turbo on stuff like this. So for example, if I wanted to do the 100 hand slap, I'd have to hit the punch button repeatedly many times to get it to work. And it can make your fingers tired. Now if you wanted an unfair advantage, and I will say this is unfair, it's not nice to be playing against people if one of them are cheating, but what you can do is if you were to press turbo and then hold down the button, so turbo and hold down that button there, every time I press that you can see now it's come up as turbo up here, and look, all I've got to do is press that button down there, you can see the light flashing and you can see his hands going. Yeah, and you can do this with other ones as well. So let's say if I wanted to do a kick, I can do turbo kick, and now you see he would do repeated kicks. Anyway, it's really nice to play Street Fighter on a good old-fashioned arcade stick. It makes it much more playable. Now, I will be doing an even more in-depth video on this one. I'm going to show the driver that you need. I'm also going to go into detail on whether you can use things like the Kronos Max into this to see if you can use other stuff, like for example the PlayStation 3 steering wheel over there. I'm also going to talk about whether you can use the USB hubs, whether you can use Xbox wireless adapter, whether you can use headphones. I'll let you know that you can't use headphones with this. So whether you plug this into your controller or whether you plug it into the little port down here, you cannot use headphones via this converter. And also I'm going to show you whether or not it works when you plug in a USB on-the-go cable straight into the Nintendo Switch itself. So I'm going to do another much longer video detailing all these little things. Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and please subscribe for more how-to videos. Take care, bye now.